Hey. So I pushed out a video this morning talking about Chinese medicine, and a friend from high school reached out. Well, a couple people, I guess I'm now taking special requests for videos, which is fine. It's a pleasure. I'm teasing if anybody's watching this and you messaged me, I'm teasing you. Because if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So, the dog, Colossus, the dog just laid on my 2 toes because he thinks he's a lap dog. So, anyway, sorry about that. So a friend from high school reached out asking for some advice. His wife just had a hysterectomy. Ironically, when I worked for that doctor of Chinese medicine, he had a really big, thick book on the counter where I sat, and it was called The Hysterectomy Hoax. I will never tell anybody what to do. That, for me personally, would be a last resort. Probably would never let it happen. And so I will share a little bit of my personal history because it's extremely relevant. So, post-divorce, super stressed out. My kids were fairly young. And I had to work like a beast. And, I wore the hat more often than not of the mother and the father. And we were under a lot of duress. It was a struggle. So that will take a toll on a woman's body, and it will take a woman out of her femininity, which we are seeing happening more and more and more, which I don't feel is natural or healthy, but that's another video. And so the stress took such a toll that I started having insane symptoms. So I was always very thin and naturally muscular without having to try, which in Ayurveda is the Pitta dosha. So I was physically and mentally very, very Pitta. You can be tridoshic, you could be dual doshic. But I was very Pitta. Well, maybe a little Vata too. So now all of a sudden I'm like gained 20 pounds and acne has come back and I'm having all of these painful periods and crazy symptoms. And before you know it, my body is just rebelling this whole new lifestyle that I innocently thought leaving the difficult situation would improve our lives, and I didn't really know what I was in for. I guess I was quite naive back then. So I stopped menstruating. I was diagnosed with 2 nodules. One on either side of my thyroid. I had nodules on my uterus. I had fibroids and cysts, and I was cystic in my ovaries and my breast. So now I lost all muscle. I have at least 20 pounds on me. I'm breaking out. I'm in hormonal hell. And I was very alternatively minded at this time, but also still seeing regular medical doctors. And of course, it's urine, early menopause. There's nothing you can do. This is it. Now, mind you, I'm 31 years old. Well, probably around this time, I think this hit around 32. I'm no way. That's crazy. I don't ascribe to that. No. So what did I do? Acupuncture 2 to 3 times a week, because usually with Dr. Lenahan that I worked for, it was 3 times a week was a staple. You were put on a program. And then I switched eventually to a female doctor who was more in alignment with female specified issues. And I saw her 1 to 2 times a week. I was doing herbs, golden flower. There were 2 companies that Dr. Lenahan used for prescribing herbs, and they're both very popular. And the one, golden flower, makes a product called cinnamon and Perea, which helps to shrink fibroids, and it was wonderfully helpful. I was still seeing my homeopath at this time, so I was on a bunch of different remedies and just doing my best. And I thought that the more, because I was always into fitness and I couldn't understand why my body hurt so much working out, which thyroid and the fatigue and the adrenal fatigue, very common. I was relentless and I didn't know how to quit. And because I have such strong masculine energy, my body was just so thirsty for yin and softness and tenderness and peace. And I didn't understand then how to gift that to myself. And I felt like I was going to lose, and that I was giving up if I stopped running and stopped doing all the things that I was doing. So I was still very like beast mode, very young, and it was hurting me. So if you are someone who leans more towards the masculine as a woman, and we have both masculine and feminine in us, and I did a video on this, like, I have one daughter who's deeply feminine, and my mother and both my sisters were deeply feminine. And then, my mother literally used to say to me, Carrie Francis, you have breasts and a vagina, right? Literally. Because I was just such a tomboy. I was so rough and tumble. It was like, let's play G.I. Joe and like make mud pies and, roll around in the dirt. And we played running bases and asses up and trip. My brother created all these crazy games. And yeah, so I did focus more on yoga, but it was still like vinyasa and dharma mitra and anusara and ashtanga, like very yang-based yoga. And I was not listening to my body. I just wasn't doing a good job of listening to my body. I wasn't. This was before I was a teacher. This all got me to become a teacher. And I can do a whole nother video on that and the blessings of injury and illness. And there's such a spiritual component to illness. And, I was bedridden for a year. Again, that's a whole nother video. Because I'm making this video to help my friend's wife. And hi, whatever your name is, I'm so sorry that I don't know your name, but I hope this helps you, sweetheart. So, staying in your feminine, yin yoga, gentle yoga, restorative yoga, legs up the wall, just, super rejuvenative stuff. And I wish I gifted myself that more. Gentle walking, nothing harsh. If you're going to, do weight training, I would do nothing even close to lifting heavy, progressive loading, hypertrophy. Stay away from all of that. Just do like very light weights. Getting out in nature. But the herbs helped, and eating all organically. And this is just a reminder, because if you're someone like me who has intense sensitivities, and again, at the time, I didn't know this, but you can eat all the organic food in the world, and you can stay away from the gluten and the soy and the phthalates and the xenoestrogens and all that stuff. But just because something is organic and green doesn't mean that it's healing and healthy for you and your constitution. So although I was eating what I thought was all the right things, and at this time I was well into the blood type diet for years and years, which had worked really, really well for me. And by the way, a whole nother thing to talk about is oftentimes things work until they don't. You should be cycling on and off your supplements. You should be cycling on and off your Your herbs, your body needs to take a break from everything. Whole nother video. I worked for health food stores. I worked for 2 health food stores in 5 years. I worked in health food stores. I sold supplements for almost 10 years. I was a professional sales rep for major companies like Gaia Herbs and Highlands Homeopathics, Heal BHI, My Shell Dermaceuticals, Endomedica, Barleans, Natural Factors, Garden of Life, you name it, I sold it. And I didn't just do that professionally as a sales rep. I also had a demo company. It was called Dynamic Demos by Carrie. And I did that for years and years on my own as a side gig, always running side gigs from the time I can remember. And I loved that job. I loved being a sales rep. You have to give your body a break. Everyone is trying to sell you something. Everybody's trying to convince you that your liver needs this and your kidneys need that and your adrenals need this and your brain needs that. Don't believe the hype. You don't need it all. There is something to be said for keeping it simple. KISS, keep it super simple. Most people are taking way too many supplements. Your body can't process all that and you're peeing most of it out. Whole nother video. So, I focused on yoga for hormone health. I did a lot of Kundalini Kriyas at that time and a lot of Kundalini breath work because Kundalini is the feminine, the divine feminine. That's the focus. Yin, restorative, gentle. I said that. Herbs. Be really mindful of your diet and create a atmosphere of ambiance. So I would play. I love piano. I played piano as a kid, so playing classical music or soft piano or nature sounds. I listened to a lot of kirtan chanting back in the day, and I loved Deva Premal. I saw her and Meeten in a gorgeous cathedral in Philadelphia. Man, that woman has a powerhouse of a voice, and the chanting's, it's very beautiful. So I did a lot of that, Epsom salts baths, super soothing essential oils like vetiver and bergamot and lavender. I love earthy and woodsy, so if you need some grounding, cedarwood is probably one of my favorites. Sandalwood's a great one too. And I ended up getting my period back. And all the doctors told me that I was in early menopause and there was nothing that I could do. And it was like, take this med. And, you know, that was it. Like, they just wrote me off. A lot of my complaints weren't taken seriously by male doctors, which is very common. So I would say if you are a female and you are really suffering and struggling and you don't feel heard or seen, bring a man with you to the appointment, because usually you will have a very different session and a very different result. It's unfortunate that that still happens today, but even in Chinese medicine, there is the hypochondriac area of the body and, you know, phantom pain, and there is something to psychosomatic. I do believe that some things can be more psychological in nature, but people, when they are going for help, to be dismissive is not helpful. So whether you really believe that it is a hypochondriacal thing or not, it's just part of the job of being in medicine is to be a beacon of hope. And that is one of the other detriments of seeking help from mainstream medical, is they're very profit over people. At this point in time, it's just gotten increasingly worse. I think we all know this. I'm not like saying anything shocking. And, you know, there's this some providers just, they lack hope, and it can be like soul sucking to sit across from a practitioner or a doctor and hear them say like, there's no hope for you, or there's nothing we could do, or this is how it is. So you really have to become an advocate for yourself. You know, take no shit. Don't take no for an answer. You need to be relentless and persistent and patient, which is not my strong point personally, but you will learn, because illness will teach you. Illness is an amazing teacher. And there is a beautiful spiritual component to illness. And if you allow yourself to be encapsulated in that slowing down, because illness will slow you down, it will take you out of the fray of the macro and it will force you to slow down, and you sit with it and you tap into that still small voice, and it's a powerful teacher and a powerful catalyst for transformation and transmutation. And if you are paying attention, you will be thrown into this process of integrating. And a lot of illness has a deep psychological and emotional component to it. So you will see a lot of women that come out of abusive relationships have some of the highest autoimmune rates in the country, and that's not by accident. So you need to be an advocate for your own health and wellness and look for alternative solutions. Have an array of people on your team, medically speaking. So that might look like a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a homeopath, a medical doctor, maybe a functional medicine doctor. You get the point. So you have this, like they say, eat the rainbow of foods for optimal health and well-being. It's the same thing when you're seeking support. I mean, I don't go to the mainstream medical community at this point in time in my life. It's been 5 years and I haven't seen a doctor at all, not once. I will go alternatively just because of a lot of the things that I went through. I don't feel like that is a safe, secure space for me to go to for support and help. I'm not telling anybody what to do. This is my story that I'm sharing with you because definitively 3 different doctors told me that I would never get my periods back. I was in my early 30s and it was devastating to hear, but I just didn't buy it. And it's really good to be strong-willed and fucking stubborn. This is where stubbornness really serves you well, because I was not accepting no for an answer. So I did get my periods back, and I'm still menstruating to this day. Too much information, maybe, but you know, I'm nearing 48 and we're going strong. There are specific things to look for too, for a woman to differentiate and understand what a healthy period looks like, and what a more dysfunctional period looks like. And if you'd like me to do a video on that, I'll absolutely do that. There are very key markers that you can look for. So why are they promoting hysterectomies? First of all, it's harvesting at its finest. There is no it's taking away the exact essence of what makes a woman a woman. And I think we need to think really long and hard about how many hysterectomies are done per year, how many women are told that this is what needs to be done and there's no choice. And that's absolute bullshit. I will say that there needs to be a level of trauma-informed care and responsiveness in this process, because it's probably a woman who has had a certain amount of trauma, but also if that's not the case, and it could just be a woman who is struggling with the environmental toxins. So we know that our water is chlorinated. I tell women all the time to stop swimming in pools. You are completely annihilating your hormones and you are severely depleting yourself of iodine. We are not a culture that gets enough iodine. That's why you see women in Japan that are so healthy, because they have the highest rates of iodine within their food system of, I think, any culture on the planet. Seaweed is one of the best forms of iodine. Dulse is probably one of my favorites. You can actually eat whole chunks of dulse out of the bag, which I used to do, or you can buy dulse flakes and you can flake up whatever you want. I used to put them in salads when I ate salads, when I was able to eat salads. So, endocrine disruptors, you want to stay away from phthalates and genoestrogens. So all of your body care products, all of your cleaning products should be organic or homemade. I will do a whole separate video on that. I will give you some recipes of things that I do. I've been making my own products from soup to nuts for 20 years. I've not used a microwave in 20 years. I don't watch TV. Your blankets, everything has a frequency. So anything that's like made from wool or alpaca or 100% organic cotton will have higher frequencies than any of the blankets or the sheets that you're sleeping on that are polyester or synthetic fibers. Yes, this makes a big difference. I know it is more expensive. So think everything from shampoos to makeup to sanitary products, body wash, laundry detergent, dish soap. There are a lot of xenoestrogens and phthalates. These are hormone disruptors. And then plastics is probably the biggest culprit next to the fabrics that are on our body. And your skin is your largest organ. So I think people always think organs and they think liver and kidneys, and they forget that this is living and breathing, your skin. And then all of those environmental toxins really stress the thyroid, and your thyroid and your adrenals, there's that axis and they're intrinsically connected. So all of that will have an ill effect on those parts of the body, and then it can become a big takedown. We are seeing the highest rates of uterine cancers, uterine disorders, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and women are more cystic than ever before, and they have more fibroids. I had cysts on my ovaries, my breasts, like I said, fibroids, and nodules on my uterus and my thyroid. I was constantly being tested. I did let them needle me for the largest cyst on my breast before I knew better. And then I never let them do it again. I never let them biopsy again, because now we know that the biopsy can move the cells around and actually create or express cancer cells. We all have cancer cells inside of us. So this was a bit of a lengthy message, but I would say take care of yourself, focus on yin-based practices, warmth. Look up yin and see what you find. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I can give you tools. I can provide skills. I can set up a strategy. I really need to start charging for my time and energy for all of this. It's like, that's another thing that keeps going through my head. My time is valuable and my wisdom is worth it. But take it from somebody who was never supposed to menstruate again, and now it's like almost 18 years later, and they were wrong, because when you have a made up mind, you just make shit happen. And it's unfortunate that so many people slip into this is what my doctor told me. Anytime somebody says to me, well, this is what my doctor told me, I'm always like asking a million questions and becoming a little antagonistic, but not intentionally, but asking intentional questions, asking hard questions, trying to get that person to really think and just plant the seed of like, you have more say in this. The medical model is not designed for empowerment and it's not really supporting a sense of sovereignty or self-agency. And that is really the goal, is like kind of taking your power back and understanding that you have more say in what happens to your body than not. So I would recommend that women pick up the book Hysterectomy Hoax and look into alternatives. As far as post-hysterectomy, You're going to have to work really hard to balance your hormones. I would still focus on a lot of what I talked about in this video is still extremely applicable. I will never tell anybody to stop taking medicine and to not be on hormone replacement therapy. That's not my place. That's out of my scope of practice. I won't touch things like that with a 10-foot pole, but you can certainly support anything at this point that your medical team is deeming necessary for you. I hope that helps, darlings. Take care. I'll be back with a million other videos. And yeah, I'm going to have to start seeing clients one-on-one again like I used to do years ago. I think it's going to come to that. Love ya.